All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Carson City Visitors Bureau Board of Directors regular meeting, December 14th at 2:15 for 4 o'clock time. Can we have the roll call?
Yes. Renee Plain. Present. Jesse Downey. Here. Jonathan Bolware. Here. Stan Jones. Present. Karen Aboud. Here. We have a quorum.
And can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. And now we'll open up for public comment. Public comment?
Hello, my name's Loretta Marson. I'm president of the Carson Cruisers, and I'm here just to vent. I had a concern. Our event is June 25th at Fuji Park of next year. It would be our 32nd Run What You Brung. We've held that there since our third year. We were established in 1985. We are a nonprofit organization. However, we're not a corporation. We still pay sales tax when we buy any of our items for the show. Well, just December 4th, I was informed by an email that there was another car show in town that weekend of our event. I was never notified by anyone, so you can see how I went, because car shows are car shows. Carson City's Carson City. We had an issue a couple years ago, and I discussed that with Joel Dunn. Save Mart came down to represent Hot August Nights as their sponsor. Well, they happened to go ahead and book their 2 days, Friday and Saturday, on the same day as ours. The difference was theirs was free, a free car show versus our established show. Now they're like, oh, that's different, that's different. This is Carson City. We've been here a long time. I went to school here. I know Carson's a little fickle at times, but when I heard this, I just cannot tell you how upset I was. Because of the Save Mart issue, we were informed by Hot August Nights that they were having an events calendar committee that they established, so we wouldn't step on each other's toes. Now, Reno's Reno, we're here, okay? So when we went to the meetings, we told them we had no issue with the Rockabilly Riot, which is the car show that's scheduled for the same weekend. And because they have a different type of vehicles. They're called rat rods and such. However, that's Reno. And I said, I had no problem. We're two separate places. You guys can have 2 or 3 car shows, and it wouldn't affect Reno or Sparks. Down here in Carson and Douglas and Dayton, it does affect us. Anyhow, when we spoke with Joel, we told him the issue a couple years ago, and he's like, whoa, that was not cool. So anyway, this committee was set up. This past year when we met with Hot August Nights and the committee, Paul, the organization person of Rockability, he stated at that meeting, oh, we will not put our event up against your event next year, means the 2016 year. I says, that's fine. If you're Reno, Carson. He goes, no, we're going to go ahead and not schedule it on your event. Okay, that's great and fine. So here came the December 4th. I called him up. He told me that he was supposed to be solicited from the city to come here. I don't know who that was that solicited him here for that same weekend. Then he said he met with hotel people. He met with the sheriff's department. None of them had any idea about the Carson Cruisers. He was told that Carson Cruisers hold their event the last weekend of June. Upon that, I looked at the calendar. If you look at 2016, there is no other weekend in June. June 25th, 26th is the last weekend of June, which we have held for years, okay? And he goes, oh. I said, well, if anybody had looked at the calendar, you would have seen Carson Cruisers can't have it on that weekend of June because that is the last weekend of June. And he's like, oh. He goes, well, no one called you? I'm like, no, Paul, nobody called us. So I did the email. Joel, I left a message. I think I left a message. I don't know how he could understand that message because I was upset. But I hadn't heard back from him. Paul said he was talking to Joel that evening after I talked with him. I waited a couple days and talked with Paul again. He goes, no one called you? I'm like, no one's called me. I says, I understand Carson City needs events. I have no problem with that. But we're an established event. Why weren't we in any consideration of this? Could we have worked together? Could we have found out some information about this? Last year, same situation. The Beer Fest was held on the same weekend. We were told about it, and they, oh, good idea. Maybe we could piggyback onto that event. Okay, I scrambled. I had to get permission with the Nugget. I had to do all this other stuff so I could piggyback on the same weekend as ours because our flyers were already gone out for that last year. So we worked together. We held our event at the Nugget parking lot in the back. The only difference was we were told that we could still cruise down Main Street. And until the last week of our event, we were called and said, oh, you guys can't cruise down Main Street. They cannot move the blocks. You're going to have to make a detour. Okay, we abided by that. We did that. Everything worked okay. But then this year came. And my biggest concern was the man said he wouldn't have it on our event. And he said they got solicited to come down here. Now, yeah, there's 2 parks, 3 parks, whatever. Again, if you don't know about car people in Carson City, they're going to see this other event right here at Mills Park. Are they going to remember Fuji? They're going to remember Carson Cruisers. We have only, in the years we've been established in Carson, it has accepted one-time monies from convention and tourism. We do everything on our own. We solicit from the little businesses, $20 for a trophy. We do everything ourselves. We cook. We get to permit. We hardly make any money, but we love what we're doing, and we love Carson City. And for this to have happened without any knowledge given to an event, and an established resident event, this person's out of Reno. In the last 4 years that I know of, he was at Grand Central, a Grand Sierra hotel. Then he moved to Sparks, and then he moved downtown to Reno. And of course, he's a nice guy, and we talked, and he says, well, I just don't like Reno. He was fined for this or this and that, blah, 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 I don't know. And then all of a sudden, he's down here. So that's why I'm here tonight, to say, I really would wish that we had loyalty for our established old events. Not because somebody's coming in with more bicycles, with more this, with more that, and you're going to bump old events. I think the Taste of Downtown, if I'm not mistaken, has been moved because of another event that's scheduled. And when I talked to Paul, I'm not sure if you guys had talked to him about going on that same weekend as the bicycle event. I have no clue about that, but I know he did not want to be part of that. So where does he end up? On the same weekend. So, needless to say, communication is a big part for events. You know, I would have gone on with my flyers saying, you know, our event was here, there, and that, but now I can't send out my flyers. I'm not even sure what we're going to do this year. This would have been our 32nd year. We were one of the groups that helped keep Fuji Park there. We were part of the coalition that helped sit on the many, many master plans. First, the freeway's coming through, then it's not. Then we're going to give you this. Now we're taking this. Now Costco's going in. Walmart wants it. I can't tell you how long we fought for Fuji Park to make that an established park. Residents didn't even know where Fuji Park was. If I say where Costco is, they know where it is now. So that's why I'm here. I'm venting. There needs to be communication. It's nice having more events here. It's nice having them come to our town to spend monies. The other part of that hotel thing, he told me that he needed 1,100 rooms for his event. I have out-of-staters coming. I don't book or block out our hotel rooms. I said our participants do that on their own, and they probably don't do that until into January, February, or March, because our event, of course, is in June. So just saying that he books up the hotels or whatever he's doing, where are our participants supposed to stay? Did anybody give thought to that? Again, I have nothing about events. If we could have worked together, that would have been nice if someone could have come to us and said, this is what's happening. But for him to tell me, Paul, Sheriff's Department, hotels, everyone says, oh, they don't know anything. We were in the parade. We won first place in our little category. If we're not around, we're not here, who are we? Again, this would have been our 32nd year. We're probably one of the oldest car shows still going. There's obsolete iron who's like in their 40s. I would have liked to seen, would someone have gone to Silver Dollar and told them, oh, we're booking another car show at Fuji Park on the same weekend as you? Would they have done that? No. I do know Silver Dollar was upset when Hot August Nights did their Tahoe show on the weekend of theirs. They were concerned at that time, and that's Tahoe. Luckily for them, they had the locals supporting them, and they get a few out-of-staters. I get about 75% maybe out-of-staters now. We were also this year, we were going to limit our entries to 150 cars. And a lot of the out-of-staters, I mean, believe me, we had thought of many times maybe we should just, hang it up. Our out-of-staters would keep saying, don't do it. We love your show. We love coming to Carson City. Again, we do everything ourselves. We don't ask the city for anything. And I just want to say that, I feel like we got slapped in the face on this one again.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You had mentioned that if you had known about it, you potentially could have worked together.
Possibly.
Is that still a possibility?
He's
I don't
already
know.
got
I don't
his
know
flyers
enough
out.
about whether.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an expert in booking car shows, but we're still 6 months out. So I don't know when you were referring to working together, aren't there still items that we could help you with about working together? Or is that completely?
I have no clue. He has a whole different venue out there at Mills Park. He's doing 2 days of cruises. I don't know his time frame. He said maybe 9:30 he's going to do cruises. The downtown situation, I'm not sure if even the street's going to be open. He wasn't sure about that. He said he's cruising down Curry Street. He's doing burnouts. I mean, it's a full show of what he is putting on. He's, like I said, he's already got his flyers out. I'll have to change my flyers, but time is of the essence of this moment. I usually send out flyers in the January. Try to do it at the end of this month, but January would be fine. But I don't know. I mean,
to answer to the street closure and that sort of thing, I mean, we have the bike event coming. The street should be open at that point in time. And the plan going forward, if the 90% design passes, was that to do the street itself, they could do it in 7 days. Get that done. The sidewalks might be torn up and will be. And there'll be lane closures, 2 lanes on one side, 2 lanes on the other to deal with that while that's going on. But to Jonathan's point, if there's a way that you can work together to make it one grand car show event, I think that would be the best solution. I would love to see the Carson Cruisers and that just be an expanded event. That would be wonderful.
right. And again,
I'm sure there's a way. I don't know, Joel. Speaking of the Visitors Bureau, could we don't want to get too much in this open
yeah, you can't.
comment. However, I'm sure there's a way in which we could try to work together.
Absolutely. In fact, although I can't necessarily address the concerns.
Right.
In the follow-up email, although it's brief, we can set up some meetings and sit down. Yes, they are the same weekend, 2 different venues, 2 different car shows. I know you guys have a phenomenally loyal following with your car show. I didn't anticipate that there would be any negative impact to your event, being that it is going into 30-plus years. So we certainly can see if there's a way that we can work together, find out an opportunity that it's great for both parties. So if you would like, I will follow up, set up a meeting with you, your board, and also Paul and his board, if that's something you would like.
Yeah, communication is the most important thing about anything. That's why I'm here. A communication could have been really before I was here. That would have been really great. Again, this is Carson City. Okay, you've lived here all your life. I've lived here a long time, and we know our people are fickle. They'll go to one thing and like, oh, I'm too tired. I'm not going to go to another. We know this. I know this. That's why we don't try to book 2 shows, and that's why I was very upset when Save Mart did the 2 free car shows. I tried to head that off with some suggestions, and they was like, oh, we can't, blah, blah, blah. So I went to Hot August Nights, and then they apologized for doing that to us at that time, and last year was fine. And again, one of my biggest gripes here is Paul was at that meeting. And that's where he stated he would not do that on our car show. My other question is, whose idea was this to bring them to this to town here that weekend.
Although I'll make it brief, I won't respond to it, but the show was not solicited to Carson City.
And that's what he told me.
All right.
All right, well, we can't get too much into
Anyway.
public comment, but, hopefully, you've heard some things here that, we're willing to work, and, you'll take advantage of that.
And
going
again,
forward.
I would hope maybe you would think down the line, maybe having a committee with events that are here and just making sure not bumping your loyal events. You don't make them happy when you bump them for somebody else who's never been here for the almighty dollar. I'm sorry, that's how I see it. It's that. We're bumping you because these people can't get here. And that's basically what Paul basically said. He didn't want to work on a certain weekend. So I thank you for your time. I just wanted to come here with my group. Joel, if you can set up a meeting. I mean, this is quick. We have to do something soon. We have to decide as a club. And I can't do anything without my club members knowing what we can do or can't do. Because I have to change our flyer and all that issues too, and that's going to cost, so.
No problem. I'll do it in a timely manner that'll also give us the opportunity, if we need to, agendize it for our next meeting, which would be the second Monday in January. So we'll expedite the process.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? If not, let's go on. Possible action, adoption of agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda with one modification, moving item 9 to item 6.
So there's a motion to move item 9, which is review of the audit, to item 6. You have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you. So, with that being said, for possible action approval to accept the CCVB fiscal year 14-15 audit.
Hi, for the record, my name is Beth Cone-Cole. I am the audit partner from Cone and Company. I believe you have a copy of the audit. I'd like to briefly review the results for the fiscal year 2015. The first page after the table of contents is the auditor's opinion. It is an unmodified, or sometimes what we call a clean audit opinion. It does discuss that we did have to implement a new accounting standard for the net pension liability relating to PERS in your financial statements, and that was required for all local governments this year. I like to tell people that governmental accounting basically has two sets of books. They have the fund financial statements, which is what you guys do on a budgetary basis, and they have the government-wide financial statements, which encompasses all these other liabilities and assets. So on the government-wide financial statements, I first like to review those, and they're on page 8. And on the government-wide financial statements is where we had to implement the new net pension liability and the deferred outflows and inflows regarding this pension requirement. So your total assets are approximately $1.3 million. Your liabilities are approximately $488,000, of which $341,000 of that relates to this PERS liability. And you're not going to turn around and write a check for that. What's going to happen over the long term is you're going to see increases in rates or hopefully improvement in the investment results that therefore will cover this future liability. And your net position is approximately $775,000. Next, I'd like to look at I think which makes more sense is look at your budgeted financial statements, because that's what you do on a daily basis, look at those budgeted numbers. And they are on page 25 is your general fund. And you budgeted total revenue of about $899,000, and I'm rounding, versus your actual results, which were $919,000. So your net result was at $20,000 of revenue better than budget. You expended $943,000 compared to your budget of $981,000. So overall, you were $38,000 better than budget. But state statutes require that we look at it on a function basis, and your financial statements are broken out between the general government function and the culture and recreation function. And your culture and recreation function was over budget, where your general government was under budget. The net was good, but because that one function was over budget, we had to report a compliance finding. And I suggested to Chris maybe she'd talk to Department of Taxation about combining those two functions, because in your mind, you're probably it's really the culture and recreation is what you do, even though it's broken out in two separate. So that might be one suggestion to help in the future. Overall, your net change in fund balance was approximately $76,000 positive in your general fund. You also have capital projects funds. Those are on page 27 and 28. And you were slightly over budget on your on the bond payments of $297,000, so you had a small issue on page 27, but overall you had a positive bottom line of $5,900. And on page 28, you generated, adding into the V&T Capital Projects Fund, about $152,000. I'm happy to go through the entire financial statements in more detail, but that's the primary financial impacts. We also issued a two-page required board communication letter, basically just summarizing this new implementation of the PERS liability and noting that we had no disagreements with management or other issues. And we had no management letter, no significant findings or issues. That's it.
I have a question. When we
Yep.
when we budget, whether it's budgeting expenses or budgeting revenue, and then we do a adjustment to the budget, I think, what do we do in August or something like that, or May? Are we doing it in May?
Yeah, we do the augmentation scheduled for May.
What's an acceptable variance? Because obviously your final numbers are never going to match your budget, so it's a forecast. So what's an acceptable variance that, whether we combine it, the two items that you talked about, I think there's always going to be a variance between what the actual number is and what budget is. So is there acceptable variance that's allowed, or is it
Well-
always reported if it's off?
Well, you're only reporting if you're over budget. You can't spend more, state law says you can't spend more than your budget, or you have a finding.
Okay.
So the issue is now each of those functions, one was over 50,000, one was over 37,000, one was under 50, something like that. And so the result was the 37,000 was a problem. But overall, you were okay. So really, what happened, I think you need to give yourself enough cushion so you never overexpend, because your bottom line was a positive. You just never want to overexpend a line item, a function.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Chris's explanation was the same, because I'd asked her about the same question with regards to that. Is there a likelihood that those items can be combined into one line item? Okay.
Yeah, we'll check with Department of Taxation. The other issue I think that did, during the findings, not only did we increase our revenues during those augmentations, we found that we weren't going to be spending as much as we originally budgeted. So in addition, we reduced one of the line items almost $50,000. So I think moving forward, if we're unable to combine the two, one thing that we'll do as a common practice is make sure that we give ourselves that opportunity of not decreasing our potential expenditures based on revenue projections going up. So I can address it in that manner also.
All right, any more comments or questions about the budget from the board? Any comments from the audience? Okay. Motion.
I move to approve the Carson City Visitors Bureau Audit Report for fiscal year 15.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I'd like to publicly thank Chris for all her help with the audit. We couldn't get this done without her, and she does an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good work.
I'd also like to extend that to Beth, you and your staff. You're great to work with, and I mean, I don't think anyone's really excited when you have an auditor step in your office, but I have to say you guys do a fantastic job with us. Great communication. Thank you.
Go back to, for possible action, approval of minutes for November 4, 2015 board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the November 4th, 2015 board meeting as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you. Possible action, approval of the adjusted fiscal year 2016 budget report.
Okay. In your package, you will find the Carson City Visitors Bureau Fiscal Year 16 Master Budget Report. The report accounting period is period 4, which represents spending through October 31st, 2015. That represents 33% of the fiscal year. Going down in the far right column, you can see any of the highlights that would draw any concern. Looking at it, we're at 35% in our revenues, so we're above the elapsed time in the year for our revenues. At 35%, coming in at $542,406.25 actual. That's total revenues. The bottom line, when you look at expendable revenue, that reflects carryover, so that's really not a solid number, but that's at 60.6%. On the second page, going down, you get into the expenses. And with expenses, the first one is actually the $75,000 that we gave to the V&T Capital Project Fund. That is the payment to the city of Carson City for the shortfall for the gas tax bond. That put us at 53.5% total. Not having made any of the other payments, it's coming in at 13.7, but this will balance out when we make those payments for the bond payments. And also field maintenance, the interlocal agreement, all of it will be reflected when we get those numbers from the city. But it's all reflective of room tax revenue, so it'll balance out at the end. Looking at the expenses for salaries, at 33% of the year, bottom line, salaries and benefits, we're at 30.4%. Next page, breakdown of the operation expenses. First one would be professional services. We're at 33.3% at 33% of the year. The one that's over in those line items is the contract employees. And as we said, some of that is upfront when we get into the fiscal year with some of the big projects that we have. Now, I will be going back through this. Although the board approved the use of additional funds from the V&T Capital for marketing efforts, some of those will have to be transferred journal entry over to an expense account once it's set up with the city for that fund. And currently, those will be represented in these numbers. Continuing down, property services, we came in at 17.9%. For other services, which is from insurance down to special events, trade shows, we've got one that came in at printing and advertising at 39.1%. So once again, just a little heavy on the front end. Bottom line, we're still at 15.3% for budgeted amount at 33% of the year. Operating supplies, once again, this is one that we know is very heavy up front for the start of the year, but we're at 54.9%. And the one that's actually over 100% is the store inventory. But we've talked about it. That's a reflection of the tickets. Now that we're doing the tickets, we won't see a change in that number, and it's going to continue to show over the 100% until we do that augmentation. Once we do the augmentation and change those numbers to reflect the new revenues and the new expenses coming in, we're going to have that red flagged until May when we do an augmentation.
So Joel, and
Yeah.
so the projections, you're projecting that even with some of these upfront, that the projections are still going to stay on budget?
Yeah. Yeah, the projections are going to reflect right now until we do that augmentation. So column 1 and column 2 are going to be the same until I do the augmentation, which is a reflection of the projection based on room revenues. At that time, column 2 will change. And then we'll work off of those numbers through the end of the fiscal year.
But do you have an idea now, let's say, other services is going to be way over budget, way under budget? Do you have an idea now that that's going to happen? Or do you wait?
I wait until, because what I do is I kind of balance out based on what we're seeing our spending trends for our operating expenses, and we'd make sure that we bottom line, basically. And that augmentation, that's kind of why I got caught up last year by dropping the services and supplies dropping at $55,000, I shouldn't have dropped the $55,000. I should have left that line item in. And I did that because we were kind of seeing where we were spending, where we weren't. But no, I think with the projection, and I certainly can do monthly projections, there's no reason not to change it. I just want to make sure that we don't, in the past, we've always used column 2 to reflect the augmentation numbers so that we can compare what was budgeted versus the augmentation. I could do it monthly without a problem because I can, certainly look at the spending trends and also do a projection so I could tell you that moving forward the next 8 months, we're not going to spend in that same manner. So if the board would prefer that, that's no problem. Whichever way you'd like it to be reported.
I mean, for me, it's just, because when you do the percent expended,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you got 15%, but does that mean next month it's gonna go crazy? And then, so percent expended just tells us what you've spent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really tell us what the forecast is gonna
Okay.
be coming up. So I don't know how important it is, but
No, I think it makes sense. There's no reason not to change that. So, yeah, I can reflect that. And I also, that will show, yeah, let's do that. I'll add, instead of adding another column, I will just change those projections to be a monthly to show you what we're seeing. And that way, if we've got additional marketing projects coming up, it'll be reflected monthly. So, yeah.
You can do like a status of funds. What's obligated, what's committed, so on and so
yeah,
forth.
exactly.
And that really gives
Well,
you,
that way we can get to discuss, if we, for example, if special event, if it's tracing to where it's, trending to where it's gonna go over this 83,000 budget, we wouldn't know it by this, but you may know it, know what's coming up, so be able to have a discussion item long before that happens. I think that's where that'd be beneficial.
No problem. I'll make sure that in our next meeting it reflects that. Okay.
Joel, I have a question. Everybody talked about expenses. My question is about revenue. Have you seen trends between a legislature year to a non-legislature year? Because coming into 16, we don't have the 5-month extra income from the traffic. So based on this, you're projecting total revenue, what is it, about 1.2, little under 1.2? When you compare it with the current year that ended on June 30th, what percentage are we over or under that?
So when I'm doing my revenue projections, I actually go and I project based on a non-LCB year. So looking at where we've increased over the course of the 2 years, that's going to take into effect an LCB year and a non-LCB year. So I went back to what the revenues were just for the months during the legislative session. So in my revenue projections for fiscal year 16, the numbers from January through June are reflective of the non-LCB years from the previous year, and then I take the revenue increases over the course of the last 6 months of the year. That's where I come up with the revenue projections. So reflectively, it's a little more conservative, but we're not, that way I'm not taking into account an LCB year revenue year of January through June. So I hope that makes sense. I think that's the best way to do it. It makes more sense to me. I think if I was to use the increases, because we certainly see increases January through February through June for the legislative year, I would be probably 3% too high in my revenue projections. So
So you take
3%.
2 years into consideration, second half of last year
Correct.
and a first half of last year also, kind of a whole year rather than the financial year. You're taking the calendar year 2014 pretty much.
Correct, and then I base off just the final 6 months of where the revenue increases were. I think that's the safest way to do it. Okay, bottom line in all expenses with utilities at 33% of the year reporting, we're at 26.1%. And the last page, once again, is where we break out all of those governmental accounting funds. So, any questions on the budget report? Okay.
Comments from the audience about the budget report? All right.
I move to approve the adjusted financial year 16 budget report as presented through October 31st, 2015.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Possible action approval for ratification of monthly bills for October 2015.
Okay, once again, in your packet, you'll see all of the monthly bills, month ending October. First page, going down, I'll just call any of the large ticket items. You can see the first credit card payments, you can see those go back actually to August and September. Those were reflected in the itemized reports in the previous board meetings. So those are just when they finally reported on the city report, and that's what you're seeing in front of you. But we've already gone over all of those credit card charges. Continuing down, you can see once again, we have some ticket refunds for the canceled Russian ballet. We've got the gas, rent, and utilities payment of $37.89. We do have some larger $2,800, $1,500, and $1,000 over the four next columns, and those are all for contract employees. And that's all the way back from for some of the grant projects that we were finishing up from last year, and also some event photography and content writing. And those will also tie into both of those are with Nevada Photo Source, so that would be with our newsletters also. Continuing down, you can see we did do the lease buyout. That's for our black and white office copier. We did the lease buyout, so we now own the machine, so the only thing that we're paying for is just an agreement for service. So the only thing you'll see, that'll be the last one from Everbank, but you'll see just a small service charge monthly for that black and white machine. Continuing down, you've got the financial statements for the audit. You've got a $3,500 payment and a $4,000 payment for Beth Cohn and Company. And our payment for the 3/8%, and that would be the payment for August of $6,623. We've got brochure and poster paper from Papers Plus of $21.57, and that's primarily for the brochure rack card that we send out through Certified that we print in-house. We have the Reno.com TV spot for $2,000. And
Joel,
Yes.
what is that?
That was a cooperative marketing opportunity that we did with Tahoe Resort Television, and they gave us a free ad to go ahead and run to try out their platform, which plays on all the TVs up in Tahoe, North and South Lake, Reno, and then actually across the country in different resort towns. But it's a shop local, shop Carson TV ad that we're getting run for free by them. And then that relationship hopefully will parlay into something for band, where they'll offer discounted television spots for our band members.
What's the 2,000?
What's that?
That's the 2,000.
The 2,000 was actually, I think, for the production of it through
okay.
through CAT. So they didn't charge us to run it, but we had to pay for the production of the video. Yeah. Which is good if you haven't seen it. It can definitely be repurposed multiple times. So.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of B-roll for us that we can repurpose. The last one, you see the 790, and that's, once again, those are reflective of those ticket sales that we do, and then we pay back to the event promoter for the Memorial Smackdown benefit. So on page 2 and 3, you have the breakdown of all of the credit card charges and same time period going down the list. Most of the first page is related to a couple of different promotional tour and also the Governor's Global Conference on Tourism that Kyle attended. The Epic Ride promo tour was my trip up through Northern California and then down, ending at two of the mountain bike races, one in Chico and then in Salinas, and we talked about that in a previous meeting. But now you're just finally seeing some of those charges come back in. Continuing down, you've got the vital signs for 1815. Those are the logo decals. We finally got to the point where we had to redo the decals that we have for bumper stickers and the car windows. So I think in the last year, we went through nearly 5,000 of those. We didn't do quite 5,000. I think we just ordered 2,500 for moving forward. And those are the Carson City logo that is the Your Experience Starts Here. You've got your standard $6.99 for the mobile app subscription. And I think that's it on large ticket items on page 1. Page 2 starts off with the Tahoe Weekly for $13.95, and that was a half-page ad in the Tahoe Powder magazine. And continuing down, Unique Sounds, just over $1,000. That was for the sound system that we put inside the Willys. That'll allow us to have not only the sound system, but the PA for shows. which was great during not only the trick-or-treat night on the west side of Carson, but for Nevada Day Parade. And they put it in just in time for that. The next one, the financial services, the 3742, that's just the payment for the machine and the copies on the large copier. And that's it on any large ticket items, unless there's anything that came to your attention for question.
Any questions? Questions from the audience about the monthly bills? Okay.
I move to approve the ratification of the CCVB monthly bills for October 2015.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Non-action items. Joel, you're up. Executive Director's Report.
Okay, first thing I want to go over is the numbers, the visitor center activity. So far, year-to-date, we've had 24,597 people come through the visitor center. During November, those numbers reflect 17 groups from California, and the rest of them down. We've got 7 from Canada. The one that actually was surprising is we had nobody from the mountain states, and we had nobody come in during November as far as groups from Southwest. Nevada out of region, we just had 4 groups that were from Nevada but not out of region. So total number of people that came in the visitor center in November was 1,953. Now, next we've got your blue report for the transient lodging. So this is a report for September. Numbers through September, trailing 12 report shows that we're up 10.3%, coming in at nearly 15.7 million. Room revenue for year-to-date puts us at 9.52% up, coming in at 12.66 million. Room tax revenue for September for the top 5 properties showed an increase of 14.2%, up 136,000, and that came in at just over 1.1 million. Top 13 properties up 20.3%, coming in at 1.69. That's an increase from 1.4 over 2014. RV showed an increase of 47.3, coming in at 49,809, up from 33,800 the year before. The remaining, we've talked about the remaining properties, and that's down 40.1%, down 21,411.99, and that came in at 31,984. Average daily rate increase for the top 5 properties from 2014, $11.28. That's up 13.2%, coming in at $96.67. Top 13 properties had an increase of $6.82, up 9.5%, coming in at $78.34. RVs was slightly up $1.38. That's an increase of 4.3%. And the remaining properties, although showing a decrease on it, your total average rate did increase $5.39, and that's an increase of 27.5%. The occupancy for the top 5 properties came in at 75.7%. Available rooms, 15,000. Occupied rooms, 11,392. Top 13 properties came in at 64.8% occupancy. RVs was at 26.5, and the remaining properties at 20.2. And 28-day plus, total number of rooms occupied for 28-day plus in September was 14,564. Room revenue for a regional comparison, there was finally some changes in the reporting, and I know Virginia City had a pretty significant month, and when you're talking lower revenues, when you have a big month, they did jump up. They were actually up for September 8.6%. Year-to-date revenues puts them just below us. We're at 9.5%. Reno is showing year-to-date at 10.8% increase. Tahoe, Douglas is 1.7% up, and Douglas the Valley year-to-date is just up 0.4%. So that would be the regional comps. Any questions? Okay. Continuing on, we were lucky enough to receive 4 of the 5 grants that we submitted with the Nevada Commission on Tourism, Travel Nevada. Those grants, the first one being advertisement for Nevada Magazine. That's going to be a $5,000 grant matching. That'll give us $10,000 to work with. That's going to more than likely be at least 3 full-page ads. If not, we can separate those out. I'm looking now at doing kind of the 2-tiered marketing with Nevada Magazine so we can showcase not only some of the events, but then showcase, obviously, we're going to, in the first one, be doing epic rides and maybe morph in with some V&T and also the arts. So those are kind of the 3 we're looking at right now. In addition, we've got the mountain bike advertisement, and this is specific to mountain biking, not just the Epic Rides event, but it'll certainly feature the Epic Rides event. That's going to be an $8,000 grant. That'll give us about $16,000 to work with. That's one of those that's a little more expensive to get into some of those major mountain bike magazines, and this will afford us that opportunity. The third was the Carson City Art Walk brochure. This is going to be a self-paced walking guide of all of the arts in our community and also the art galleries. We'll work collectively with the Cultural Commission moving forward on this. This will be something that we create and print in-house. That's going to be $3,000, giving us $6,000 to work with. The last one was for marketing for the Multi-Athletic Center, and we're looking at about $10,000 that we'll be able to market for the MAC moving forward. The one that we put in for that we did not receive, I did put in for a grant to look at the interactive mapping. And this is certainly something we're going to continue to move forward because that's the technology we want to integrate into not only our website but our mobile app. So that won't slow down, but we'll continue to move forward with the interactive mapping. So I want to thank Travel Nevada and an opportunity. I think we've shown to be a great investment with their grants in the past, and I'm happy to receive 4 of the 5 that we put in for. During our lodging meeting last week, there was something I was unaware of that was brought up on Senate Bill 411, SB 411, and this is in regard to, which was passed, and this provides an opportunity for the local school district to form a committee, and that committee then can look at an increase in tax. That tax can come from transient lodging to transfer of real estate to, there's about 4 or 5 different opportunities for the school district subcommittee to request from the Board of Supervisors to have on the ballot a tax increase. The question and concern came from the lodging properties. Is this going to look at a room tax increase in Carson City? I did reach out to Richard Stokes. I will be in contact and communication. It has not come to my attention that our local school district is looking at using SB 411 to increase any taxes, but once again, the steps would be, first, they would have to form a subcommittee. That subcommittee would have to come back with a formal recommendation to the Board of Supervisors by April 2nd, which would then allow the approval, if approved by the Board of Supervisors, to have that as a ballot issue for the November ballot. So that's kind of the process of SB 411. We'll report back in January if and when the local school district is looking at it, but right now I would say that that hasn't come to our attention, nor has it been talked about in their board meetings. Okay. Let's save that for Kyle. I've got one of the last things for me. We have, as every business in Carson City, quite often we are asked if we can provide a donation, and a donation is generally a gift basket that showcases the things that we sell or the things that we give away at shows to sell Carson City. Having the increase this last year and continually being asked, we decided to go ahead and do something kind of different. We need people to get into the store, even though most of the time this is for locals. And we decided to kind of, once again, as we do with everything, kind of think outside the box. And rather than just printing out gift certificates, I had one-off concepts in Carson City that did our sign. Go ahead and etch out a metal gift certificate for us. And we're going to have about 10 of these that we'll have that we can provide to all of the nonprofits and special groups that are doing raffles and prizes rather than doing a gift bag. This isn't a finished product. It'll actually have a handle that I'll be welding on that they can take. To me, if I'm gonna get a gift certificate as part of a raffle or an auction, I really want something that I can walk away and they're gonna put this on the table, people are gonna walk up and look at it. They're going to bring this in and redeem it as their gift certificate for $25. When they redeem it, hopefully they're gonna spend 50 to 60, and they're gonna buy some other things in the store. I'm looking at maybe tying in a little bit of purple or pink or some color into it also. Eventually, this will become a covered rust piece, so it's really gonna kind of become a traveling art piece. The nice thing is the cost is so low that if the recipient decides to keep this and hang it on their wall, rather than bringing it back, we're nowhere near. This is just about $10 for us, so I think it's creative and it's something that'll help us kind of market in a fun piece. So, yeah, really tough to lose that. So I wanted to show it. I may even mount some, looking for maybe some old, some railroad track that I can cut and weld that onto and make it even like a standing trophy. So I'll move forward on that. Kyle will expand out on this, but the last thing I want to talk about, the creative team had an opportunity to go and do a presentation with the Carson High School marketing class, Mr. McHenry's class this past week, and I can tell you it was outstanding. You've got upwards these are the second year students, so these are sophomores and juniors, and the intent was not only to educate these kids on what we're doing and the impact that visitors have on our community. The hopes was that we would get some of them to be interested in maybe doing some internships with us. And we certainly received that. So I'll let Kyle expand out on it. But if that's it, I'll turn it over to Kyle. Thank you.
Well, I'll start with expanding on that. So we presented to two of the classes, gave an opportunity to present the Visit Carson City brand, what we do, get a chance to talk to marketers about, what marketing means to us and what we feel like we're doing for the community, and to talk about the impact of what we are doing with the community. But then to present all the different specific skills that go into the marketing team, so that when you're looking at the marketing class, you could go into the visual aspect of it, or the social aspect, the writing, all these different things, and then offering the internships for the students, depending on if they were interested in going into the journalism part of marketing, will they be working with Terry? If they were interested in the graphics design, they'd be working with Tara, and so on and so forth with everybody from social to the web design and everything. And when you walk into a high school class, sometimes you wonder if they're paying attention or not. And so when we did open it up to questions, the kids did engage us, and when we opened it up at the end for them to get up and come around and talk to us about internship opportunities, every single one of them came up and had something that they wanted to do to work with us. And we had our first 2 students come into the office today and start working with Terry about over the writing part of it. So we've got a couple articles that we wanted done, so we're going to put them on that, and really utilize those motivated fresh minds, to really what we're going to be training them in Visit Carson City and how we do things, and then they're going to go out through the articles that they write and the photographs that they take and the social post. They're going to be promoting us, and they're going to be promoting their city, and it's going to help spread our brand to that high school age student, which is a really, really tough demographic to get credibility with. You can reach them, but whether they pay attention to you or not is a whole nother story. So I think having those influencers working with us is going to help with that. And then the Visitor Ambassador program that we've been talking about, many of them were really excited about doing that, coming out during the events, going out to the ball fields when we're having the tournaments, and really, being the ambassadors for their city, which I think is really cool, again, to have a high school student be motivated to want to do that for you. So, yeah, big success. I would definitely say that was a day well spent at Carson High. So, any questions on that before I move on to the next thing? I've got 2 other things for you guys. So one of the papers that you have up there is the checklist. We said we were going to go ahead and create a checklist that coincided with the master plan goals that we presented a few months ago that was approved. So what I just wanted to do is quickly introduce this document to you. It's for us to stay on task. It's for you to hold our feet to the fire. But then it's also an ability for us to, come in every month and show what we've been able to check off the list and where we are progress-wise with it. So just in regards to a few things, we have started the conversation with the V&T about the bike train cooperation thing. We don't see anything that is going to stop that project in its tracks, so to speak. So we are still moving forward with that one for an Epic Rides launch. The reason we've gone through so many of those stickers is because they're part of our welcome package. So we do have a defined welcome package for events that come in, and so we can get those out to them. And the art tour piece, we did receive a grant, so we're going to start working on that. The parlaying of regional events is kind of bittersweet because I had every one of these checked off the list before we transferred our site over to the city server and then lost all of that content, so I will be redoing that. So next meeting, you'll be seeing those checked off the list. A little bit of a bummer there. The ski and stay packages were launched last week, so we are promoting those, and you're going to start seeing the promotion of the page itself and the deals, but then also the individual promotion of each of the properties that are participating in it as well. So ski season's off to a great start. We got a really great shout out at the RTT meeting from Deborah Lang, who made it clear to the entire region that we were the only Visitors Bureau actively promoting ski and stay packages for their lodging properties. So that was really cool. And then our holiday shopping promotion is that television commercial, as well as the thing that we did with David Toll. So kind of a two-pronged holiday marketing promotion. The turnkey events to the MAC, we got the Wrestling State Championships. Other than booking them, there hasn't been any more development with that yet. So scanning through a couple more of the pages, the influencer marketing, just addressing the schools and our new relationship with them. So hopefully we'll be filling out specific names for each one of these topics that we want influencers in. Suggestions are welcome. The visitor outreach program, not only do we get high school kids interested in it, but we do have a few people of the retirement age that are very excited about getting out there and promoting their city as well. So one of the goals was a diverse group of volunteers, and that is what we're working on. So all age groups, all cultures, multilingual if possible, that's what we're working towards. So we do have that coming along. Ban, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could dive in with this one, but I do just want to say that, you know, we did get the support of the local business organizations and private sector. We've got 200 individual business members now. And our first meeting is January 20th. So that would be the noteworthy development of that. We've got Connie Aguilar as our keynote speaker for that. She's one of the head marketing and communications people for the Abbey Agency. She's extremely inspiring, very interesting to listen to. If you weren't already into marketing, it makes you want to quit your job and get into marketing because she's just so exciting. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the next cooperative marketing opportunity, which will be the television spots. And then also highlighting the events to come for the next 2 months. So that'll be February and March events. So again, January 20th is the meeting on that. For the actively champion the value of tourism, we're now getting together our list of tourism facts. Okay, a little quick fact sheet of what does tourism mean to Carson City, what has the Visitors Bureau done in the last year, what is tourism to the state of Nevada, and we're looking to share those now more out in the community, going into the schools and sharing the impact that the Visitors Bureau and tourism has on the schools, sending those bits of information to our officials, elected, the ones that are running, for offices, trying to get that information out there so that people that are making decisions understand the facts and aren't doing it based off of hearsay or anything like that. So again, information's power. We want to empower our officials at all the different levels. So we're going to be getting that out, and hopefully those will be shared on Facebook, retweeted, and used in speeches and things like that. Creating monthly checklists that we're looking at it right now. We did have our quarterly lodging meeting just last week. As you can see, the events that we were checking off as additional events. For the increasing event visitors for Nevada Day, we're going to be working on a new Nevada Day website, which is going to function the same way that the fair website that we developed for the fair. So it's going to live on Visit Carson City. Although it's going to have its own Nevada Day URL, the Visit Carson City website is going to get all the play and the action from that. But Nevada Day will have a fresh website that will be responsive, that will be updatable. It'll just look contemporary and clean. And then, of course, Motor Officer Challenge, partnering with Rockabilly Riot. In the increasing of the gift store sales, we have increased the inventory with the metal signs, with the art, things like that. But we did get the e-store launched pretty soon after we said we were going to do it. So now people, anything that they can buy at the Visit Carson City store in person, they can also buy online through our website, going directly to the Square store. So I'd look forward every time we come here, this will be the master copy. We're going to check off things, and then we're going to go over what we've checked off and kind of explain where we are progress-wise every month.
Kyle,
Yes.
because of the Rockabilly Riot car show and what came to us at the beginning of the meeting, in attracting additional events, can there be an increased communication and some sort of a general calendar? I know we've talked about this, and we're working through that with the Arts and Culture Committee too, and we'll probably be working collaboratively on this effort, but such that everyone knows when things are scheduled, so we don't have conflicts and or bumping people.
Yes. I'm going to pass it off to Joel to answer that one.
No, absolutely. I can tell you that the process with most of the events that we've brought into Carson City, although we do go out and actively solicit many of the events, there are some events that have seen the success and know the offerings, know the interlocal agreement, they know the benefit of bringing events to Carson City. I don't make the public aware of events that I'm working with until the time that the event promoter's either gone through the master project review process with the city. That's a process where I sit down with the promoter and we talk to the department heads, and we actually look at the logistics of the event and make sure that the city is comfortable in permitting that event. Unfortunately, in the process with Rockabilly Riot, although I was fully aware that the weekend they had asked to move their event into Carson City was a weekend that we did have another car show, I was very confident that both car shows could exist within the community because they were at different parks, they have a completely different clientele, a different target market, and that they don't go after each other's cars. So I was very comfortable in moving forward with the master project review, although I did not make it public knowledge that the secondary car show was looking at wanting to come into Carson City. We moved forward. We went through the master project review 2 weeks ago with the city. The city was comfortable in moving forward. If any concerns come up, the city, will work directly in the permitting process with Paul Sampson with Rockabilly Riot. Really, outside of just marketing the event now, we don't have any ties to it. Everything that happens now is a functionality of that permit process with the city. I'm still very confident that we can have, and I'm certainly never going to call them a competing, but we can have complementary events in our community. We have had multiple baseball tournaments. We've had multiple soccer tournaments. As long as they are at separate complexes and their target market of who they go after are separate, I have no problem with it. I did address it last week before I replied back to the Carson Cruisers. I brought it up at the lodging meeting, making sure the lodging properties also didn't have a concern with me always actively going after multiple events on any weekend. That being said, the only comment was, listen, don't bring additional events in on those weekends where we have no room nights. This is a weekend that we have room nights. We had room nights to go after. So we do have 2 car shows that are going to be booked on that. I will make every effort to work with Carson Cruisers, making sure that we can find a happy medium between the two, and hopefully they can work together and bring up the quality of both of the events. If not, I am confident both of them can stand alone on their merits of what they've been able to do. Rockabilly outside of Carson City, Carson Cruisers in Carson City. I don't think there'll be a negative impact. Okay.
And my other question was, on sharing the director's report and the numbers with city officials on a monthly email, can that be posted or a link posted to the website with the new format and how that's all being done? I would think that there's a simple way of doing that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the purpose of the email, though, was to make sure that we weren't forcing the officials to have to go find it and potentially miss it, but really putting it in your inbox, and hopefully it gets opened and hopefully it gets read. Yeah. Cool.
You know, there's something missing here, though. There has to be communications from you to like Carson Cruisers before. You can't, in fairness to both organizations, there has to be early on communications, I think. They're very resentful. I know they are, and so is Taste of Downtown. And some of that was just lack of communication. And I don't know what the answer is, but we got to do better. We truly do.
Well, you know, we work in the era of collaboration. Everything we do is to try to bring people together and connect the dots and to benefit. So there's nothing that says, I mean, we wanted to collaborate with both of those groups that you mentioned right there. You know, when you collaborate, you potentially have two winners. When you compete, there's always going to be one loser. You know, so unfortunately, I mean, I'd like to see everybody play well in the sandbox and collaborate with each other. You know, that's what we're trying to do here. I can only speak for our vision and mission for getting the community to.
And looking
All
back.
I'm saying is there should
Yeah.
be no surprises. You know, like, you had a done deal before you told Carson Cruisers, and they should have been in on part of the action before, in my opinion.
Yeah,
No, I agree. I
and-
think it doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to go forward in suggesting that we go. But as much as we can, saying, hey, look, this is what we have planned. These are events. So everyone's on the same page, and then sometimes we have to make some difficult decisions. But at least the information's, I agree, at least the information's out front. This is what we're looking at. This is where we may want to go. And then sometimes you have to make some decisions that sometimes they like, sometimes they won't like. So, but I do agree that we probably need to put out there, hey, look, this is what we're working on. These are dates we're working on, and then deal with the conflicts up front. And then sometimes we'll make decisions to go forward still. But at least we'll have all the information out when we make a decision. That way they're arguing the decision rather than, hey, we weren't informed.
No, certainly. And in the case of the Carson Cruisers, I don't think it would have been unreasonable, and I have to wear the fact that I didn't reach out to Carson Cruisers. I had made the assumption on myself that that would not be a negative impact to them. I could have reached out to them, and I should have, to talk to them before the master project review. But I wasn't comfortable or confident at that time that the city was going to be able to take 750 to 800 cars in Mills Park and meet all of the requirements. And I may have been stirring up a hornet's nest that wasn't going to necessarily happen. When in regard to the Epic Rides and the Taste of Downtown, I made absolutely every effort to sit down with the Taste of Downtown early on to make sure that as soon as we identified that that was the date, that we would try to work the two together, and they made the decision to move on that one, so not me.
But back to the calendar, that ties into that. Okay, there's a potential, let's say Carson Cruisers and the Rockabilly event. All right, put a question mark in front of it. Because if they're looking at a calendar, they're going to know right away that I'm going to ask some questions. So the communication goes two ways.
No problem, I agree.
All right, you're not done with me yet, though. All right, so Jesse, you had requested a couple numbers last meeting to see how we were doing on social and the website and the app and everything. So I just want to go through a few comparisons between where we are right now today as compared to where we were a year ago today. So if you remember, there was a presentation, I think it was actually a little less than a year ago, a PowerPoint of what we had done from 2014 to 2015. Okay, so that's what I'm going to compare to. I think it actually, instead of being a 12-month comparison, it's more like a 9-month comparison, which actually fares pretty well because we've done really well in the last 9 months. So anyway, for Facebook, year to date, we've got 2,794 followers. Last year at this time, there was 2,000 followers. So we've increased in this year 794 people, new fans. Now that's with the loss of 150 followers in March of last year when Facebook did a sweep, and they went ahead and eliminated people who were no longer using their Facebook account, people who were no longer active on your page. They just went ahead and swept clear. So we ended up losing 150 people in that, but then gaining another, 794 plus 150 to get to where we are now. So big improvement. Actually, at the meeting a year ago, I set the goal of doubling our followers. So if you look at the total followers that we had at 2,000, we didn't double our followers, but if you compared how many followers that we got last year compared to this year, we did double the amount of people that liked our page this year. So with that, we averaged 5 shares a week, whereas last year we averaged 3. Each post we made this year averaged 440 people of organic reach, whereas last year we averaged 340. And if we posted a video, the average was 740 people per post that we got on that. So we've actually got our organic reach up by 100 people per post. In advertising, we took 24 ads out this year at $600 to reach 70,000 people. Last year, we took 24 ads out at $600 to reach 70,000 people. So that was flatlined compared to last year. And Google search and Carson now continue to be our biggest drivers to our Facebook page. For Twitter, year to date, we've got 2,317 followers compared to last year with 1,587. So we've increased our Twitter followers by 730 people over the last year. I tweeted 2,192 times, or we have a total tweets of 2,192 compared to last year, which was 1,592. So we've got an average of 50 tweets per month. That's a little over a tweet per day being out there. 13,000 impressions per month this year compared to 12,000 impressions per month last year. So again, increasing across the entire board. This one was actually pretty interesting. Our clout score went up, and clout is Twitter's level of how important you are in their opinion, which means more people see your post, more engagement, more just in general, everything's up. Our clout score went up to 55. The average clout score on Twitter is 40. And to be considered in the top 5 percentile of influencers on Twitter, your score is 63. So we're significantly closer to being in the top 5% than we are being just average. Our goal was to triple the amount of posts made on Twitter over the year. We accomplished that. So we did reach that goal. On Instagram, year to date, we've got 655 followers. Last year, we had 200 followers. Okay, so our goal to double our followers, we more than accomplished that one. 355 posts total, which last year we only had 189 posts total, meaning we made 166 posts this year, equating to 6,266 likes and 200 comments. Again, even though we had 189 posts last year, the engagement wasn't nearly as much. We've doubled the amount of likes per post, doubled the amount of comments, so everything is solid on Instagram. Yonder, which is our newest social app, which is the outdoor enthusiast app. They came out, we did a partnership with Yonder. We have the widget on the Be Our Guest page, which looks phenomenal. If you haven't gone in there, we're going to put it up on the outdoor rec page, but it pretty much is user-generated experiences on a map showing in relation to Carson City all these great things that you can do. So in less than a year on that one, 555 followers, 73 posts. So where we've had Instagram for almost 3 years, we're right there with Yonder in less than a year. Vine, which is the millennials video platform, which all the high school kids, are you guys on Vine? Are you guys on Vine? Yeah, we're on Vine. Still one of our least used ones, 57 followers, 67 posts, 108 likes. But those 67 posts have been looped through 12,850 times. So the little 7-second loop that goes through, it's looped through that many times. So that would be considered views. Our YouTube, 59 subscribers. We put 9 new videos up this year. Total views on YouTube is 45,000. So YouTube's been around for a long time, but you can see 45,000 views compared to the 12,000 views in just a short amount of time on Vine. They're going to catch up with each other relatively quickly. Our newsletter, right now we've got 12,518 subscribers. Last year at this time we had 7,856 subscribers. Our goal was to increase our open rate and our click-through rate to what the industry average was. So right now our average open rate is 15%. Industry average is 15%. So we've made it. Before it was at 7%, 6%. It was really, really low. Our click-through rate is 2.6, which the industry average is 2.0. So we're above that. And again, our click-through rate last year at this time was like 0.7. So we've come leaps and bounds with the newsletter in a year. The app, the data that we were able to get on the app was just for the month of November, so I'm sorry it's not more comprehensive for the entire year, but just in the month of November, we had 791 sessions on the app, so people coming on to look up data, 89 new downloads just in the month. And I'm interested in seeing what the actual activity was, because as we go through and we promote the app, and in the high school when you see all the kids pull their phone out and download the app, I think what we're going to see is trending to, which is what we want to see, a lot more use of that app. And I think that's where it's going to be going, is it's going to be heavy social, it's going to be heavy app. And in regards to the website, because we had to transfer over to the new server, and because, well, I don't know how, but Cat lost Google Analytics about halfway through the year. So we only had about a half a year of data. And so it doesn't, it's not as spectacular. I'll be quite as honest. I mean, there's nothing really like that you can glean from it because it's so erratic and so short. People are still coming on. They're averaging about 2 pages per visit. The calendar is still the highest page. But I look forward to this winter really diving in, getting that content back on the website that we lost, just getting it to where that activity is on the website back up to where it was when we first launched it. So I think overall, we've accomplished all the goals we set a year ago, and so things are looking good, and I just wanted to report that. Yeah. Any questions?
All right, thanks, Kyle. Good work. No? Oh, go ahead.
Kyle, I have 3 questions.
Yes.
First, how many properties, I know I had to leave for another meeting on the lodging meeting day. How many properties have signed up for the stay and ski packages?
7, and that's 2 more than last year.
Okay.
Yep.
And does the guest who books at any property, do they pick up the ski passes from the bureau, or the hotels have to purchase that?
Ultimately, what I would like is them to come into the Visitors Bureau so we get the traffic for that. But if somebody was checking in after hours, we'd be more than happy to deliver their welcome package to the front desk of the hotel. But ultimately, coming in and picking up their welcome package gets them into the store and gets the conversation started.
Okay. Second question is, what is the date of the state wrestling? Because I didn't get the date you mentioned, but nobody mentioned the date.
I believe that they're still trying to pencil in the permitting process for the MAC, but the weekend that they had set was the second weekend in May. The event, the weigh-ins will happen on Thursday of that week. The wrestling will start Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with the majority of the participants coming from the rural communities, and nearly 50% of them coming out of Vegas. And this is youth wrestling, ages 5 through 18.
5 through 18.
Yeah,
And
so
how
second
many-
weekend in May.
How many attendees, or how many people you expect?
They're expecting, this is the first year that they've divided out the freestyle and Roman Greco. When they were combined, they would get upwards of 600, 700, 800. The facility can't actually take on that many, so it's probably going to be maxed out at about 350 participants is what they were anticipating. So I would say comfortably 300 to 350 participants.
Final question. Visitor's guide. You mentioned we're going to print them twice a year. So, and I did see you, you had 1 or 2 large, one gambling and one hotel featured in the last one. What is the deadline for the next printout? When you're going to be doing the draft for that?
We'll actually start, the content that we've created for the last 2 newsletters will be what we'll be using inside that. I'm hoping to have those printed and ready to go out near the end of February. Yeah, because that's kind of where we start the travel and trade show. We'll finish up with what we have now through the end of February. There's probably about another 6 or 7 interviews and stories that we'll have to write for that visitor's guide. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions, and I think Kyle's through. The January meeting is scheduled for the 11th of January.
Kyle, Joel, is it possible to bump that meeting 1 week?
Yeah, we'll reach out and make sure that the room's available.
Okay.
And if it is,
Pass 1 week to the 18th?
To the 18th.
Well, and I can tell you, I'm never going to complain about that. It gives us an opportunity to finalize some of the numbers for revenues coming in. So, yeah, we will, if not, we will try to schedule it for the 18th, somewhere in that week when this room's available so it can be televised, and we'll send a notice out.
Is that a holiday weekend, the 18th?
Yeah, so if it is, we'll send out some potential dates and we'll make sure that we can meet the needs of the board, but no problem, we can extend that out. Okay.
Good call. All right, any other public comment? Any board comments or announcements?
I have a comment. I'd like to take opportunity to introduce my general manager. It's her first time in the, Sherry Zablau has been with us since August last year, but a GM since May.
Welcome aboard.
If he gets out of line, we know where to find him. Right, we know where to find him. All right, for possible action to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.